Hey guys, and welcome to another Take a Peek episode, where this week we're taking a peek at Unrest. Now, I'm doing this right after I finished the game. It took me about 5.5 hours, which for $15, I feel right off the bat, the price is a little bit much, but ignoring the price, Unrest is, as they say on the store page, a role-playing adventure game set in a fantasy interpretation of ancient India that adapts to death, failure, and the choices you make. This is very true. This is right from the Steam store page. You can look at it right there. And longtime viewers of this channel will know that usually I put in a little bit of game footage, or in some cases a lot of bit of game footage, when I don't have much to say about the game. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be no game footage. And that's for very specific reasons. Not because I have a ton to say about this game. It's actually because showing you any footage of this game will take away from the overall experience of playing the game. Essentially, what this game is the... Alright. Sorry. Basically, this game is... It's story-driven. It's a text-based role-playing game. And you don't see much of that anymore. This game is very unique in this day and age. You guys know that most of the time I go through games that... I go through games that are supposedly really, really in-depth. Games that are really deep, and they're really, really cool, and yet I still call them what you see is what you get. Longtime followers of my Take a Peek episodes know that, for me, in my opinion, almost every game is what you see is what you get. So, understand that when I say Unrest is more than that in fact, Unrest is not what you see is what you get. It is much deeper than that. Do understand that I'm using that term, I'm not using that term lightly. Put it that way. Unrest, it's really something special, and I'm not going to give it another playthrough. Like I said, I beat it in 5.5 hours. A pretty short game. I'm not going to give it another playthrough. I don't feel the need to give another playthrough, and that's not because the game is poorly designed. It's more because I kind of already know the general direction of where the game's going to go, and it's a very linear progression. There are things you can change to change the overall story, but similar to The Walking Dead, this game is very linear. Yes, you can have some people alive, you can have some people dead, you can change specific outcomes that, over the course of an entire series of games, could make massive impacts. But in just one small game, you don't really see the need nor the point to play the game again to try and change the overall outcome of the story. In the game, essentially, you take control of about 5-6 different characters. I can't remember how many. There were quite a few. And you follow their lives in this fantasy India in the city of Bimbhra. Basically, you take these people and you do, well, whatever that needs to be done. In some cases, you're playing as a teenage girl. Other cases, you're playing as an old man. Old as in, not like elderly, but just, 30s, 40s, an older man. I would not say gentleman. I would not call any of the male figures in this game a gentleman, except for perhaps the king of Bimbhra. Even then, we don't... I don't know. You never get to play as the King of Bimbhra, so I can't say for certain. Let's put it that way. Overall, this game I really think you should pick it up. It's a pretty entertaining game. And I don't know, this is a game that's definitely not for everybody. Just put that out there right now. This is a very niche audience type of game, in the way that Dwarf Fortress is a niche audience. And the Souls games, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, those are very niche audiences. Now, some of those games have absolutely exploded because the community behind them made it happen. The community loved the game. They begged for more. And I feel like Unrest is a game that could follow that same path. It is a game that appeals to that niche audience, but could forever change the facing of gaming if it got a big enough following. And that's really cool to me, that this is one of those few games that is good enough that it could definitely really get there. Will it? Just looking at the Steam forums, looking at initial sales, I'm not really seeing it. It's not going to really take off. But I do hope it does well enough for Pterodactyl to actually take it somewhere. Let's go ahead and exit out of the credits there. The game does actually have mod support, although I've yet to see any. I've yet to look for mods. Let's put it that way. It's not that I've yet to see them; it's that I've yet to look for mods. The game's pretty straightforward, though. You have Myth or Mortal, and this is about as far as I'm going to show you. You can either have multiple saves and try and change and manipulate the game as you see fit, or you have your Iron Man mode where you play and your decisions are what you made and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't please everybody. And personally, I feel like Mortal Iron Man mode really is the way to go, especially in a story-driven game like this, where it's very heavily reliant on the text and on the choices you make. I would almost compare this to almost a D&D style game, but without the combat. It's D&D that's really heavy on the role-playing. And I know for some D&D players, that's going to be a very foreign concept. You don't role-play when you play D&D. What are you talking about? You do a bunch of combat. No. A lot of D&D is about the role-playing in many communities. And this is the core elements of role-playing in its purest form. You can play as yourself across all of these different characters and create this really weird dichotomy that just doesn't work at all. Or you can read the descriptions, read the information inside the game that's provided to you about who your character is, what they believe, what they think, and then base your choices off of that character, how you interpret that character, and really build that character to become something that makes sense within the story, makes sense to yourself, and really helps progresses the story as a whole. That's not always... It does not always seem to be the best way to go about it, but at the same time, I feel like the developers really intended for people to play the game as if they were role-playing as each individual character. You know, one of the first people at the very beginning of the game, I believe her name's Anya. She's a princess, and you know, she's naive. She's never left the palace. So what is she going to know about public affairs? How is she going to react to peasants or to merchants or to whoever, to guards, you know, that are outside of the palace? If she ever goes out to meet them, how is she going to do any of that? How is she going to talk to them? You know, and yeah, as a person who lives in a relatively open and free world these days, no matter, well, across most countries in the world, relatively open and free to do what you please, within certain limitations, of course. You know, it becomes very easy to pick up a game like Unrest and say, hey, I know how I should react to these people. I understand the situation. You know, I've been poor before. So, you know, this is how they want me to react. This is how I should react. You know, they would be receptive if I sympathize with them. Or maybe they wouldn't be. You know, maybe they're a thug and you need to be tough, and you need to stand up to them. Those decisions, they're coming from you, but not necessarily from the character, and I feel like for this game specifically, you really need those decisions to come straight from the character's personality. Again, this is a story-driven game. It's text-driven. You can choose to play it however you want, but in my experience, this game is best played when it is actually, when it's role-played. All in all, this game is actually very, very good, and I wish I would see more of these games like this. Unfortunately, the market really isn't there right now, and I don't know if it really will be. This is... It's a game from an earlier era of gaming that simply doesn't exist anymore. You know, personally, I believe this appeals to a more mature audience and an older audience. However, that could be my own personal biases coming in here in thinking this game is above the level of the masses, of the general populace. I could be very wrong. And you know what? If I am wrong, I would absolutely love to be wrong. Because if I am wrong, this means this game could appeal to the general masses. You could get that huge community like happened with Dwarf Fortress and Dark Souls and make the game and the game style truly popular. So I'm begging to be wrong here, but I don't believe that I will be. Any more people want action. They want blood. They're like craving to kill things. And this game does not offer that. I mean, there are times, kind of, when you can do some combat, sort of. But again, it's all text-based combat, and you're not actually doing anything. You're role-playing the combat with the text in the game, but you're not actually, you know, taking a sword and hitting somebody with it. You're just saying with text that that's what you're gonna do. And for a lot of people, that's not gonna be enough. My biggest grievance about this game, though, is the language. This was developed by some developers in India, and they have very good English. This game, as far as English is concerned, the game is very, very good. It's very fluent, it flows very well, and the English is very good in this game. However, I almost want to say the English is too good. I'm someone who prides himself in knowing a great deal about the English language. You know, at one time, I had intentions to go over to Japan, be an English teacher for a while, and really kind of embrace the Japanese culture, and at the same time understand English to such a point that I can teach English speakers how to speak English. And I did. Not formally, but I did. And the reason why I say this game's English is too good is because this game uses words that are the vocabulary in this game is outstanding. Let's put it that way. It's truly unbelievable. There are words that are used that I had to stop and I had to say, okay, what does this word even mean? I've never heard of it, let alone could find like a basic Latin root to kind of figure out what it means. It's just like, this is just a completely foreign word to me. And it's English, and it's a word, but I don't understand that word. And that's kind of where I feel like this game will go over the heads of most of the people, is that it uses some complicated language that really most people, including myself, cannot understand in a quick read. That we have to stop and we have to go look up some words to figure out what was just talked about. You don't want that in a modern game. You know, games are not about that. Games are supposed to be easily accessible. Even if difficult, they are accessible. And this game takes away a little bit of that accessibility there. And for that, I'm kind of sad. You know, that the developers were almost too smart for their own good, if you want to put it that way. in my playthrough of the game, there have been no bugs. It's been very clean, very easy, and truthfully, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm not going to give it another playthrough, but it was a lot of fun to play, and if they make another game like this, especially based off of the same setting, I would absolutely love to see that. You know, seeing a second Unrest of sorts, using different characters in the same setting after you've already gone through, you completed the game, and then the second game kind of picks off sometime after you had already completed the game to see, you know, this is what happened because of what you did in the previous game. And we see that more often now with Mass Effect, with Walking Dead, and many other game series. Like, you know, hey, I made this decision to kill this guy. Well, crap, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision because now he could be useful. You know, that sort of stuff coming through in Unrest. I think that would make the game as a whole much, much greater. But as it stands as a standalone game, it does feel like it's a little bit lacking to me. The ending of the game felt very abrupt. It didn't give any closure, and you know, it didn't tie anything up. I felt wanting more with this game, and that's good, but it's also bad. You know, if there's a second game, if there's a second Unrest, then the wanting more at the very end is great. It makes you go out, you go get the next game, you go play the next game, and that's awesome. But the game just came out late July. They don't have any plans of making a second game right now because they haven't even thought about it. There hasn't been enough time to think about this. And so assuming, I'm just playing under the assumption this is going to be a one-time game, a one-time thing. The fact that the ending feels so unsatisfying, at least to me, I could be wrong for other people. Like I said, play the game, figure it out for yourself, but it feels so unsatisfying to me that I personally want more, but I also kind of wish I never finished the game. Because I know the game's over. I know I'm not going to get anything else, and that bugs me. Because I feel like I really need the story to progress. I need to know what happened to the characters. There was no tie-up, there was no closure. You know, there was a brief little thing at the end that said this is what happened, kind of, but it wasn't specific enough. It didn't get in there and tell you, you know, that you made X decision, so Z happened. It just said, well, maybe Q happened, probably. We don't really know. And that bugs me. That really, really bugs me about this game. That being said, like, I know I'm harping on it a lot, but again, longtime viewers of the channel, you know, if I harp on something, that's because I care about it. I'm only giving it a hard time because I feel like this game has so much potential. It is something that could be so magnificent, either as an individual game or as a full series, and yet it feels like it falls short. Overall, I have to give this game a 6 out of 10. It's what I gave it on Metacritic, and it seems to be fairly accurate with what other players are feeling and with what the critics are also saying about the game. You know, mid-60s are some of the highest that I'm seeing overall between critics and users. It seems to be pretty unanimous that it's a 6-ish, 6 or 7 out of 10. And you know, I'm feeling much closer to 6 than I am to 7. It's a fun game. I loved my playthrough of it, but it's like that genius kid that you meet in high school that goes off the deep end smoking a bunch of pot and becomes an alcoholic. That's like, you know, this could have probably found the cure to cancer, and he's a hobo. You know, it's like that guy. That's how I feel this game is. You know, it's a game that has so much potential. It's beautifully written. It's beautiful artwork. And it's such a rich, deep story that really draws you in. The characters have so much depth, and each individual action you take really makes you feel like you care about the game and you care about the characters. And then it ends, and it's over. And you were never given the time to stop caring or the time to really get your closure. I kind of want to equate this to Firefly. You know, people are so passionate about Firefly. I've never seen it, but people are so passionate about Firefly, and they're like, you know, we want another season. It was awesome. Why did you guys get rid of it? You know, and they were never given any closure. You know, and yeah, there was a movie or something about Firefly, but it never really, wasn't good enough. Now that I know they're coming back with a second series and all that, but this was years and years later they're coming back with a second series, which is far too late. You know, this game is the gaming world's Firefly, in my opinion. It's a game it's really good, it has a lot of potential to go places, but it was cut short way too early, and it didn't make it. Not for me. Anyways, guys, I feel like I could ramble on a lot more about this game, and if you want to talk more about it in the comments, I'm always happy to talk about it. Again, the game's called Unrest. It's a great deal of fun. $15 on Steam, also $15 on their website through PayPal. The PayPal link will give you a Humble Bundle link, and that's how you can pick up the game and directly support the developers instead of going through Steam. You buy it directly from the developers, you still get a Steam key, so it's just kind of whatever you want to do. However you want to buy the game. You know, it's one extra step to buy it directly from the devs, and they get more money if you buy it directly from them. So I do recommend buying it from them, but ultimately it's your choice. If you're not sold on what I've said here on whether or not you want to play the game, this very beautiful, very good game that's all text, all story-driven, lots and lots of words. If you're not sold, on the Steam page, there is a demo. You can download the demo, you can go ahead and try out one chapter for yourself. It's about an hour long of a chapter, so about a fifth of the game right there as a demo. And playing the demo is what made me buy the game, because I liked the demo, and I loved the way I could build up my character and just kind of, I wanted to see her story more out of the demo. And, you know, that's what made me buy the game, is the fact that the demo was so attractive. It was enticing. Also, if you guys want to see more, but you don't have the money to shell it out, I have a series that's being uploaded right now. It's being uploaded from August 7th all the way through August 14th. 8 episodes of me playing through the entire game with my choices. And it was a lot of fun. I do recommend checking it out. It was a lot of fun to make that series. So 8 episodes, check it out. The playlist will be down below. As always, the Steam list will be down below to go find the game. And truly, if you enjoy role-playing games, give it a legitimate shot. If you're really an action person, this is not your game. This really is not your game. But if you're on the fence, again, I always have that playlist, that playthrough, that you can always check out and figure out for yourself whether or not you think this game would be a lot of fun to play. Will18 also did a quick review on it, about 10 minutes. You can get his opinion. He shows a little bit of gameplay, but not too much as well, because we both kind of agree. You show the gameplay, and it really takes away from the whole experience of the game. So, I do apologize for no gameplay, but that's just how it has to be. This is just one of those games that you cannot preview the gameplay and do the game justice. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time with another Take a Peek episode. This has been Unrest, one of the few games that I actually say is not what you see, is what you get. It has incredible depth, beautiful artwork, a compelling story, and truly, this game, if it was a little bit longer, I would give it a much, much higher score. You know, it would be a much, much better candidate for Game of the Year for me, but unfortunately, it's just not long enough. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching.